This is not a review of Super Mario 64. At first I wanted it to be. I tried to make it into one, but for reasons I'm going to get into, it just didn't work out that way. See, I have a story with Super Mario 64 that's similar to a lot of other people's stories about this game. You can click on most reviews of this game on YouTube and find people talking about how special it was when it came out, how new, how unique, how groundbreaking. The game made this transition from 2D to 3D smooth while still leaning into the strengths of 3D game design surprisingly well, especially considering that it was really the first game of its kind. So when I was younger, I experienced that. When I played Super Mario 64, it was something special. Now, I wasn't born when the NES or SNES released. I was actually born more around when the Nintendo 64 released. Which means at first that it might seem like I shouldn't have had much time in my life without it being there. I mean, by the time I was old enough to be playing video games, wouldn't the N64 have been my go-to console? But that wasn't the case, because my parents only let us have Game Boys in the house, the original Game Boys. But around Christmas time, my parents would rent a Nintendo 64, and over the course of the winter break, we would get a chance to play it. And the first time I saw that difference, that stark difference from the 2D to 3D, from the Game Boy to the N64, I mean, it was unlike any other video game I'd ever seen before. In fact, it wasn't just a game, it was kind of magic, and I know that sounds cheesy, but it's true. Either way, my point is that when I returned to Mario 64 for this review, I wasn't just expecting to play a game like I normally am. I was expecting to get a glimpse of that magic again, of that time when I was a kid playing this game and it was something so special. Beyond that, for the first time, I wanted to complete the game by getting all 120 stars. I was really excited to dig into it, to dig into why I loved it so much, and to hopefully find a new angle to come at the game from. But that wasn't what happened. Instead, as I played this game, I found myself incredibly annoyed with things. The camera was way more obnoxious than I remembered it being. There was a lot of repetition that I didn't want to deal with. I never enjoyed swimming. A lot of the challenges I found boring. Overall, I just wasn't really having fun. But I might be getting a bit ahead of myself. It wasn't like I was playing this game and hating every moment of it. Nintendo really got one thing right for sure, and that's controlling Mario. Because to this day, he controls extremely well. Sure, I prefer the way Mario controls in future 3D Mario games, but still, for a first try, this is amazing. Actually, scratch that. It's not even for a first try. It's just amazing. The act of controlling him is in and of itself fun. These landscapes, these little mini worlds are places that once you learn the game well enough, you can rush through headlong. And these areas that were initially full of obstacles become sort of playgrounds to test your own skills, to see different ways you can move and play with things. Even so though, as much as I would love to focus on that more and act like that was how I felt about most of the experience, it wasn't. For me now playing it, the joy of that movement wore off pretty quickly. Instead, I was annoyed that I kept getting booted out of the stage every time I got a power star and I kept having to run through the same areas. In some areas, this isn't such a big deal, specifically the areas that have multiple different ways you can get to the power stars from, because then you aren't forced to cross as much of the same ground. But there's other areas where every time you're plopped down, you're forced to go through the same area again and again and again. The worst case of this comes from dire docks, where you need to swim through this tube for many of the power stars in that area. Besides, the swimming itself, I mean, I'm sure some people enjoy it for the variety it brings to the game, but for me, controlling in the water is just sluggish and, frankly, boring. It takes too long to get anywhere I want to go, and it takes the task of moving, which on land is so much fun, and makes it into kind of a chore. The single worst experience I had, though, comes from, again, dire docks. I was collecting the 100 coin star in that area. I decided I would do that at the same time I was getting the red coins. Frankly, I found this red coin part to be obnoxious. Again, the camera was giving me some trouble and I was having trouble controlling Mario in these more tight sections. But eventually I got that sorted out and collected all the red coins. So I swam around and I had 96 coins. I knew there was more around there, but I couldn't find them. And I was afraid I'd have to swim through the pipe again. So I saw this black hole underwater and I thought, maybe there's another area I can get to there. So I swim through this and boom, I'm outside Peach's castle. Both of these stars, neither of which I'd enjoyed getting, were gone just like that. From here, I finished the game, and from there I went and wrote a scathing review of it, talking about all the annoying experiences I'd had. I kept asking myself questions like, why do I need to climb to the top of Tall Mountain again and again and again? Why do I need to keep swimming through this thing? Why do I need to keep climbing up Tick-Tock Clock? Why do I need to keep riding the carpets on Rainbow Ride? All these questions about why. I've had the script on my computer for a while, and I kept coming close to recording it, but I couldn't because something about it felt wrong. But as I went through my usual process of editing the script and rewriting sections, I realized something. I wasn't annoyed at the game. I was annoyed that the game wasn't living up to my memory of it. When I see nostalgia and video games being discussed together online, the conversation tends to pair them together in a way that makes it seem like nostalgia would improve the game experience. Something like you only like this game because you played it before, but I really think it can be exactly the opposite. To be honest, I had really unfair expectations of this game. To expect this game to pull me back to my childhood is just unreasonable. I've experienced so much since then, so many other games, so many other things in my life, I have so many new memories. How would this game single-handedly be able to do that? And yet the weird thing is, and I know this is going to be extra contradictory, it kind of can. Because after looking over that review again, I decided to just sit down and play the game the way I'd played it as a kid. Which is that I had no expectation of 100% completing it. I didn't force myself to go through any challenges I found boring or annoying. The game is built open for a reason. You only need 70 of the stars to get to Bowser. And as I played it again and focused on the areas of the game that I had loved when I was younger, a bit of that magic was still there. Exploring Bob-omb Battlefield is still a ton of fun. Most of these areas have missions I enjoy. I mean, climbing Tall Tall Mountain alone once is one of my favorite things to do here. I just didn't want to do it multiple times. In a weird way, the more adult restrictions I was putting on myself, this expectation that I'd 100% complete it and review it from that lens, was making me dislike the game. Instead, if I wanted any chance of enjoying Super Mario 64 the way I had as a kid, I needed to play it like a kid. I don't want this to come across as me railing against criticism that takes the whole game into account. I think it's important to have videos like that. But I think it's important to remember that our feelings about the media we consume are also based on us. And by us, I mean the individual. Because it's not just a matter of reading the book or watching the show or playing the game. It's a matter of how you do that, of the way you tackle it, of the lens you're viewing it through. And now that I've gone through this whole thing, I can say with quite a bit of confidence that even though it isn't the same as I remember it, I still enjoy Mario 64. It still gives me a little taste of the past. I mean, it can't take me all the way back, but it can take me a little ways back. And that's enough. That's still special. So I guess the point of this is that maybe if you're like me and you return to a childhood favorite and find that it just isn't how you remember it being, it might be worthwhile to also remember how you viewed it, how you interacted with it when you were younger, and try to put yourself in that headspace first. Try to keep a bit of that inside, and then come at it again from a different angle. And who knows, what you loved about that thing still might be in there somewhere. Thanks for watching. Thank you to my patrons for their support in making these videos. Also, I try to make about one video a week, so be sure to subscribe to be notified about that. And I have a video about Luigi's Mansion here that you might want to watch too. On top of that, I've started doing 2 live streams a week on Tuesday and Thursday over on Twitch. So be sure to check me out over there using the link in the description. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a good one. See you next time.